this last summer in July, he announced that he had too many injuries and he was retiring from the sport and was going to focus on, fixing his body. And he got his knees done, he got his shoulders done. 3 weeks later, he was breaking PRs, and he came back, and just in November was the Rogue Invitational, and he won it for the third year in a row after coming out of retirement from injuries.
Hello, everybody, to episode 61 on the Northstar podcast. Today, we're with a special guest here with Clayton Diebert, and we're really happy to have you here. I want to tell everybody about what you do and...
Yeah, so, as you guys know, I'm born and raised here in Mission, but I've found myself living in Mexico the last few years and trying to figure out what I want to do with my life, more or less. But I've always had a super drive and fascination for just figuring out how to make all of this work better and work more effectively or efficiently. And I've found myself in some pretty interesting businesses and companies. One of them being in the stem cell world down in Panama, and another one being more in the kind of nutritional space. So it's been a really cool ride, and seeing how everything comes together, and all my self-learning has kind of guided me to this point now.
Dude, that's awesome. So going into Panama, when did you make that transition from Mission to going there?
So, I never lived in Panama, but I've been living in Mexico for the last 3 years. So there wasn't really much of a transition. It's more like a Band-Aid rip. I kind of just said enough is enough. Had enough of whatever I was doing here. I was doing real estate at the time, and didn't even make a transition plan for exiting or continuing my income. I literally just wiped my hands clean of it, said I'll figure it out, and left with a pocket full of cash. Sold everything I owned here, and left for Mexico with my wife, and figured it out on the way.
That's awesome. Right. And I can obviously see that you still got a tan. Did you just recently come back?
No, you're not the first person to say that. I've been back since June. So
since June? Oh, wow.
Since June. Yeah. So the tan is just left over from summer in Canada, I guess.
Nice. Great. And today we're really excited to chat about stem cells. That's something that, like we were talking about before, there's not that much, I guess, information that's out there. It's a pretty nuanced topic. Some people have heard of it. There's a lot of controversies about it. Do you want to define stem cells for the audience that's listening on?
Stem cells, the stem cells that we use, the best way to look at them is they're essentially just a carrier vessel for ingredients that our body needs to repair and recover, as well as they can actually turn into different types of tissues to help regenerate that tissue. So like, for example, knee tissue in your cartilage or meniscus, it can actually turn into that type of tissue to be able to help regenerate that tissue. And funny enough, the clinic that I work for is called the Regeneration Clinic.
Regeneration Clinic. Yeah. And would you say with your clinic, primarily you're focusing on injury repairs, or is it primarily cartilage, bones, so muscles?
At our clinic, we're covering a scope so wide because of the type of stem cells that we're able to use, specifically in Panama, that they aren't really allowed to use in the US and especially in Canada. There's so much
regulations and all that stuff.
What's that?
Is it because of regulations and all that stuff?
Regulations, red tape with the FDA. They've pretty much misclassified stem cells as a pharmaceutical product. As soon as the way they've got it set up, as soon as you take something into a lab, they no longer consider it a biological product. So then they consider it a pharmaceutical, which means you need to jump through billions of dollars worth of double-blind placebo-controlled trials in order to get validation from the FDA to get approval as a pharmaceutical, which no stem cell clinic has the pockets or the backing of some of these big pharmaceutical companies to be able to push it through, to be able to actually get that proper status. So it's not FDA approved for that purpose. And then of course there's nuance with that as well. And part of it starts with education. So part of me coming here was to see this opportunity and bridge that gap of information and knowledge and awareness that this is actually an option. Because like I was saying, we're covering such a wide scope. Not only are we looking at injuries, but we're also looking at just basic whole body anti-aging wellness. And we're treating conditions that people don't even know there's treatments out there for.
Wow.
We're treating people with Alzheimer's and Parkinson's and rheumatoid arthritis and different autoimmune conditions and ALS, all these neurodegenerative, autoimmune, metabolic dysfunction conditions, all in one place, utilizing different mechanisms, or not different mechanisms, but different methods of administering the same product.
Wow, that's insane because it's such a shocking approach and there's so many different things about that. So with your clinic, how does that work? Are you primarily like, would it be like, are you focusing on like one big project at a time when it comes to like stem cells? Or because it's got to be a lot of information trying to bounce from different stuff. How did you like learn about it?
Yeah, it was like, just like in anything where you jump in full steam.
Yeah.
Same thing happened when I started in real estate. You're drinking through a fire hose. You're taking it all in. You know, we're in constant contact with the doctors that are running the clinic and the medical staff, and like really diving into the education side of things, because when we're running ads in the US and now in Canada as well. We just recently expanded to Canada. So when people are scheduling consultations with me in my calendar, we have to figure out what it is that they're dealing with, what are they actually looking for stem cells for, and then to be able to have the backing and the knowledge to see if it's something that we can help with. And then if it is, how can we help and what kind of outcomes are we looking at? Because there's, like you say, it's such a broad spectrum. So it's a lot of learning. It's a lot of utilizing AI now to be able to dig up some of this deeper information on the mechanisms of the stem cells and everything else that we do at our clinic. So it's been a whirlwind, honestly.
Yeah. That's actually a great segue, AI. So what are your thoughts with, I know you mentioned that right now, currently how in Canada and North America, we're a little bit behind with, progressing with the knowledge and providing that knowledge to the public space. What are your thoughts on how AI can transform that so that we can, catch up when it comes to other places?
I guess it comes down to each individual's ability to utilize it at the end of the day. If someone can take a piece of information and find a way to utilize AI to be able to look into that and dig deeper and find more information on it.
Yep.
Like, for example, people type in stem cells into Google and look for information, but what they're doing is they're looking at a whole wide, broad spectrum of a product when we're using one type of stem cells. So I make sure that every time I'm talking to someone, I give them information, be like, hey, if you want to go looking and digging and find out more for yourself or for whoever else, make sure you're using a specific code to like determine that one type of stem cell.
Okay.
Otherwise, they're getting so much mixed information because there's different stem cells that are better or worse for different things and that have completely different outcomes.
Is there one that you'd want to chat with the audience about, the one that you focus with? Because it's
yeah, so we're using stem cells that are coming from the tissue of umbilical cords. So it's human umbilical cord mesenchymal stem cells.
That's the actual term of it.
Yes.
Okay. Because I remember I heard, have you heard of it too? It was like
the placenta?
Placental. What's the difference between that and?
So placental it's a little bit different. I don't know a whole lot about it. It hasn't been used as much. I know there's a couple of research places like down in, I think, Honduras that are really focusing on that, but it's a lot. I believe it's a little bit different when it comes to how the immune system responds. I'm just trying to think here, because there's the main places where people are getting stem cells are from their adipose tissue, bone marrow. And then what we do is we actually have a donor program where women are, as long as they fit under a certain health criteria and they qualify, they're essentially signing up for a higher level of prenatal care. Because I know it's different in Canada where everyone kind of gets the same level of care, but in the States, you pay to play.
Exactly.
You want better care, you pay for it. It's the same way in Panama. So what we're offering is a higher level of prenatal care in exchange for them donating their umbilical cords.
Wow.
So they get the service of having our doctors be able to monitor them through the second and third trimester, and they're delivering a healthy baby in our clinic. And then our lab is in the same clinic. So then they take the umbilical cords directly to the lab to be able to extract the stem cells and basically find the most potent and active stem cells in that tissue and then replicate them through what's called passage, where you're basically duplicating off of that stem cell to create a highly potent and highly consistent batch of stem cells for like all of the different patients that we're treating at our clinic.
I have a question.
You got it.
I haven't talked much because of my voice, but as you can hear, when it comes down to like the direction with helping someone with stem cells, would you say most people can benefit from it, or is there a specific type of person that would be best suited for stem cell therapy?
So that's a good question. I think it more comes down to accessibility because
money.
Unfortunately, it's pay to play, right? It's not covered by insurance because it's not FDA approved, and it's not accessible to the average Joe, right? For price ranges, we're talking in US dollars for getting like a joint done, you're looking at coming down $6,500 US. Doing a full autoimmune protocol, you're looking at like $20,000. That's, we set it up like a all-inclusive where it's, we're covering your flights, we fly you down, have a driver pick you up at the airport, bring you to the hotel. It's a 5-star hotel. Nice. It's attached to the clinic. There's a buffet every day that's free with the hotel. Like, we make it as easy and accessible to the people that can afford it as possible, and make it as good of an experience as we can. But at the end of the day, it's not readily available for anyone, or for everyone, unfortunately, due to the price restraint. But I mean, anyone with metabolic issues, because like I say, the biggest things that we're covering are metabolic dysfunction issues, neurodegenerative. So that's where you've had nerve issues that are causing degeneration. So that's where you're looking at the Alzheimer's, the Parkinson's, neuropathy, which could be coming from, it could be coming from a pinched nerve, or it could come from diabetes. So yeah, autoimmune, neurodegenerative,
energy, immune, you mentioned.
Like, we have just straight up anti-aging protocols, because if we're putting stem cells in your body through an IV, like they have a homing mechanism. They're very intelligent. They go to where they're attracted to inflammation. They're attracted to damaged tissues. And they basically are adding an extra element of building blocks to your body to help give it what it needs to actually repair and regenerate. Because, like when you're a little kid, you get a cut on your hand, and, it swells up, it scabs, and it heals, and you don't even see anything, right? Your body's like a printer. It's going to always revert back to default settings. And like I say, with age, as our body is exposed to more oxidative stress and more inflammation and more toxins and all these things that are in our environment, everything that we put our bodies through, our stem cells are going through too. So, a lot of people that are trying to use their own adipose tissue to get their stem cells, basically reactivate them and put them in. It's just not the same, because at the end of the day, they're old stem cells. Our stem cells are tired from going through everything that we put them through. So that's where we're using these new life stem cells that are designed to help build a new body, and putting them into our system to basically give it a reboot, because these stem cells are going anywhere in our body that our blood flows, right? So, we're helping people with heart conditions. We've treated people with COPD, going into gut inflammation and leaky gut syndrome, being able to help heal the gut wall. People with diabetes, going to the pancreas, liver fibrosis, kidney failure, like you name it. If blood's flowing there, the stem cells are going to go, and they're going to go where they're finding those main three things, right?
I'm curious about how with cancer and stem cells. Do you guys treat? Is there a protocol, or do you guys treat patients?
Yeah, so
cancer?
That's a super common question I get. And in most cases, we don't treat anyone with cancer with the type of stem cell that we're using, because like the way I look at them is like they're like little spaceships. Each individual cell is like a spaceship. They're constantly dropping down different growth hormones and signaling molecules to help work with our body's systems to repair. And cancer cells, as you know, they grow rapidly.
They grow really fast.
You can feed off the growth hormone.
Exactly.
That's why they say don't take growth hormone usually if you have cancer.
Yeah, because it's going to feed it. That's what I was assuming.
Exactly. So it's the same thing. We can actually accelerate the growth of a cancerous cell with the stem cells, with all the growth factors. So like, especially if we're doing an IV treatment, we want to see 1 to 2 years of remission before we'll actually treat them, to keep that risk at bay.
Are peptides involved as well with stem cell therapy?
So peptides is such a cool space, and I wish I knew more about them. I know our clinic is a national distribution center, or like a distributor of peptides in Panama, but we use it more as conjunctive, because I know there's stem cells out there that are treating pretty much everything, because they're so focused on one mechanism to help one particular problem, right? Where stem cells, it's a more natural approach, and it's a bigger blast, a one-time dose of a whole body, more holistic approach. So, then we're also utilizing other things, like, because when we're talking about autoimmune conditions, like we do basically what most biohackers would consider like the holy grail of testing protocols, where we're doing the genetics testing and methylation pathways, basically looking at anything that's causing inflammation, heavy metal toxicity, environmental toxins, just like everything to look at our body of what it needs in order to repair, and basically giving it everything it needs from every angle to throw everything at it to help the body repair. So it's
amazing stuff.
Yeah. That's where I think our clinic is a little bit different than most. Most end up being just like a drive-through clinic of stem cells. They're not actually looking at the individual and at their problems and figuring out where the deficiencies are, where the shortfalls are, what their body actually needs. They're just giving people stem cells, which is great, but we're taking it a step further with like the personalization element of it.
I would like to ask, walk us through a process. Let's say today I have the money for it. I'm willing to, go to the clinic, go through the whole process. How does that look for a person or a viewer that's listening to this and says, hey, this is something I would like to do? What's the timeline typically?
Yeah.
So it's one time.
Yeah.
Right?
Good question. Yeah. Cause it is one time. And that's also another common question people ask, do I have to keep coming back?
Yeah.
Because a lot of people with experience in the States, because it's not regulated, they kind of do things under the table. They're restricted in what they can do. So they have to just keep going back, and then nothing's measured, nothing's calculated. It's just let's keep throwing it at it and see what happens. Yep. So when people are responding basically to an ad, for example, on Facebook or Instagram, and they get the option to either, just sign up blankly for more information, in which case, someone will reach out to them and ask some questions, see how we can help, or they're booking an actual appointment on my calendar for a consultation. Okay, yeah. And then so we're figuring out what it is that you're looking for, going through that whole process. But from there, once you decide that it's something you want to do, usually we're booking 4 to 6 weeks in advance. And like I say, it's a matter of booking flights, booking logistics, booking all the appointments in the clinic, and being able to package it all together. And then you're there from, anywhere from 4 to 7 days, unless you're getting a more robust treatment, then you might be there a little bit longer. But for most people, it's a 4 to 6 day process.
Out of it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the hotel's got a rooftop pool and a spa. There's a casino. You can see the ocean from there, and you're in Panama. You're in the tropics.
And then you come out feeling brand new, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Is there a recovery timeline, or not really? No, it's just as soon as the procedure's done, you're good kind of thing, or how does that work?
Well, because it's completely non-invasive. So it's either doing an injection directly into a specific area, or it's an IV, or we actually do another one where it's called an intrathecal, where we're putting it basically between vertebrae, where a nerve ending is, to get directly into the cerebral spinal fluid.
Ooh,
and so we're mixing it with some of the some brain-derived neurotrophic factor, and it's able to cross over into the brain. And that's how we're helping people with the neurodegenerative. Yes, yeah, exactly. Okay. So for recovery period, I'd say about 50% of the people that come in for an IV, they'll feel the day before you get sick, where you're kind of off and queasy and kind of dull feeling. They'll feel that for a day or two, but then it goes away. It doesn't actually turn into anything. That's just your body's response to something new in the body. Yeah. And then for joints, and we also do spinal procedures for degenerating discs in people's backs and things like that. So for that, you're adding something into the joint. So a lot of people come out for a few days quite stiff and quite sore. I've heard that shoulders and knees are kind of the most painful ones. Mm-hmm. So, I've heard a couple stories of people at the clinic not wanting to make it out of the hotel room and needing assistance out of the hotel room because they've got a bunch of different joints done. Yeah. And they're just in pain because it's that big inflammatory response in your body, basically kicking your body into overdrive in the healing mode. Mm-hmm. And so, it can be quite painful, but it dissipates over time. And the added pressure that's added to the joint or to the disc where the stem cells are injected because you're adding fluid. So, it dissipates over time, but, and then people see results, anywhere from a few weeks to a few months, and they continue, the stem cells are leaving a wake, kind of like a boat going through water, and they're leaving a wake in its path of all these signals of the body to go into healing mode, basically telling the body what to do, and just turning up the dials and all the signaling for your body to hey, there's damaged tissue here. We need to send everything we got to repair it, because over time those signals just get dulled.
Wow. I kind of think of it almost as in lip filler. When you get lip filler, it inflames up, right? And then over time, as it gets distributed through the body, it kind of filters out. That's really awesome. Wow.
Similar way to look at it, I guess.
Yeah, holy. It's a lot to wrap your mind about, but it's really, really interesting.
Yeah.
Especially because of the side that's like coming in one time, right? I think that's really attractive for most people because I've worked with clients a lot with a lot of, degenerative disc issues, right? Herniations, a lot of nerve inflammation, and a lot of them, like, it's so defeating as a person. Like for me personally, when I've been lucky where I haven't hurt my back too bad, but having joint issues is the worst. And especially when they're permanent and they become chronic and it's bugging you every single day. Have you had any client stories of people coming back to you and going like, all right, I had this issue with the joint and like now it doesn't like bug me the same way?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So like a lady that I talked to she was like one of my patients that I got in. She's from New York and she had really bad rheumatoid arthritis. She had early onset Alzheimer's where like it wasn't getting bad yet, but her family was starting to notice. And so she was proactive and came down to Panama and got treatment. And she was really bad with, she also had neuropathy as well, which was probably a byproduct of the rheumatoid arthritis. And so she didn't realize, but like a few weeks later, the whole family is walking through the mall and usually she'd be the one lagging behind and all of a sudden she's in the front leading the way and wondering where everyone is. And so I think actually in the next couple of days, she's filming a video testimonial for the clinic because how much it was able to change for her in that sense, being able to repair those nerves that are damaged or remyelinate the nerves that have been exposed. Then that's where a lot of that, the tingling and the burning and the pinches of the nerves comes into play with something like neuropathy. So yeah, I've got countless people that have left video testimonials and just people that I've had the privilege of being able to guide this path and have been able to help get into the clinic and then being able to have a chat with them afterwards to see how it's working.
Is there once you get the procedure done, is there a way to maybe, maybe I'm going to word this wrong, but the length of time that it would last? So like if you take supplements or fix anything in your nutrition, strength training, whatever, to keep the benefits of the stem cell for longer than if you didn't do it at all?
So yes. So that's where we dive into all the testing because we're looking at anything that could be working against you, right? Yep. So anything that's like, if you're eating something that's causing you a massive inflammation response, like that's only going to hinder the process because the stem cells are now going to be going for that. And I tell all of my patients ahead of time, like try to sauna as much as you can for like a week or two prior to coming for the detox to just get as much of the low-hanging fruit out so that the stem cells aren't worried about that and they're going to be worried about the more systemic issues.
Yes.
Same with fasting. Like if you can get not everyone's up for doing a 3-day fast, but if you can do a couple-day fast, like right before you come down, personally, every time I travel, I use travel days as a day to fast because then I don't have to worry about eating crappy food in an airport or something like that.
Yeah.
So, but again, it's letting your body do that natural autophagy cycle and get rid of the stuff that isn't needed and kind of go through that recycling, flushing system. And so if you can do that before getting stem cells, you're only going to get better results because they're going to be focused, like I say, more on the systemic issues. So for afterwards, we create a whole protocol and have a sit down with the doctor at the end of your stay. And we go over all the results of everything, create a protocol of like, hey, if you follow this, like as much as you can, you're going to feel better. You're going to sleep better. You're going to recover better. You're just going to feel more alive. And let's continue this process because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. It's about giving people their vitality back and giving people their freedom and movement back.
Yeah, it's more than preservation. It's more about quality of life.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And for a lot of people, that's what it's all about. There's people we've had in their 80s that come down to our clinic because they're looking for quality of life for the life that they have left. Yeah. Instead of being crippled and stuck, not being able to move, they want to be able to feel better in their bodies and be able to enjoy themselves.
Okay, I have 2 questions. The first one is, this is going to be very specific to me, but for someone, I know because stem cells are so broad and do you think like there's probably going to be technology in the future? I know there's refractive lenses that people do for glasses, LASIK. Do you think there's stuff that possibly for people with vision, like for example, me with poor vision, that it can help with fixing that? Do you think?
I already know there is.
There is. Okay.
Yeah. We had at one point an ophthalmologist on staff who was doing intraocular injections. So stem cells directly into the area in the eye.
In the eye, okay. Yeah.
So we also, so optic nerve, retinal nerve, that's all part of your central nervous system.
In your brain, yes, because it directly connects, correct?
So doing the intrathecal injection, that's going into that's
Mine through the fluid. Yep.
yes, that's going into the entire central nervous system. So that's where you're able to get that. And then on top of that, just doing the IV, a lot of people, like within a couple of days, end up having better vision because it's able to reverse the damage done from just basic macular degeneration. So it's already there and it's only going to get better.
Wow. Okay. I'm definitely going to look into that. That's really cool. And another thing I was wondering was...
It's selfish.
Selfish. Hey man, I know a lot of blind people. And the other thing I was wondering is age. What's like the, I guess the eldest person you worked with or the youngest that you've seen come to the clinic?
So the youngest that I've personally seen, probably in their mid 30s. I think a lot of it boils down to accessibility. I've got a couple people that are looking for their kids that are high school athletes going into college and they've got injuries and they're looking at it as an option. None of them have pulled the trigger on it, but I mean, it's available as a tool for anyone. And then for long age, I would say I've seen people in their early 80s coming in.
Wow. Yeah. Is there anybody that you would say no to? I know you mentioned before that, hey, if this isn't like the targeted approach that's going to help you with your cause, that's going to be the main thing, right? If someone books a consultation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's actually a lot. I mean, as much as it's a fantastic tool, it doesn't fix everything. It doesn't work with everything. So there's a lot of things, especially dealing with spinal procedures where it's a mechanical issue. So like, for example, a herniation, right? We can't fix a herniation. That's displaced. That's mechanical. That needs either surgery to remove it and then rehab to be able to build the strength and the structure to be able to keep the proper biomechanics and posture to keep the tension off because it's an overload of pressure on the discs that create the herniation in the first place. So like, we're working with degenerative discs, or if there's, a lot of people with spinal cord injuries where they've come in and they have a lot of muscle atrophy, so they don't have the strength. So it's able to help regain the muscles and the neuromuscular connection for that. So herniations don't work. A lot of times where there's stenosis, so whether it be a bone spur or something out of line that's creating a pinch on the nerve, a lot of the times that's mechanical. That's not something that is a soft tissue thing that stem cells can actually fix. So dealing with the spine, I'd say, is one of the biggest things where people get rejected. Looking at our board of where we can submit MRIs for review by our, he's a spinal surgeon, but he does stem cell injections. And we'll review the case and look at all the symptoms and everything and look at the MRI and say like yes or no. And then if it's a yes, build out a custom protocol saying exactly how many stem cells and exactly which areas. But I would say like 50% of the MRIs that are coming in for reviewed are actually being rejected. And we're recommending like, hey, like this isn't something that we can actually help with. You'd be better off seeking help, whether it be surgical or otherwise.
Yeah. What's the regulations with professional athletes in this sort of
there's
approach?
lots of professional athletes doing it.
Okay, so there's no like is it
there's no ADA.
Okay.
Yeah, there's nothing in it that would be anti-doping. I know for like bodybuilding, it's a lot of it is based on like a polygraph test. And even though it's not a performance enhancing drug, it's still something that's aiding in your recovery beyond nutrition. Yeah. So like if they want to stay completely clean and pass that polygraph, they have to stay away from stem cells, even though it'd probably be massively beneficial, just like a lot of peptides. Yeah. So there's nothing against it for stem cells. And actually a really cool story. Are you guys familiar with, in the strongman world, Mitchell Hooper?
Rings a bell. Yeah.
So he's a monster of a man. Obviously, he's in strongman competitions.
Yeah.
So he won the Rogue Invitational strongman competition 2 years in a row. And this last summer in July, he announced that he had too many injuries and he was retiring from the sport and was going to focus on fixing his body.
Yeah.
And someone from the clinic, I don't actually know who, but reached out to him. And a few weeks later, he ended up booking a trip and coming down in August. And he got his knees done. He got his shoulders done. He had some vertebrae done in his back. He got a high dose IV. And like 3 weeks later, he was breaking PRs. He came back and just in November was the Rogue Invitational and he won it for the third year in a row after coming out of retirement from injuries.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Must be.
Yeah, I was thinking of Ronnie Coleman. I can benefit.
So Ronnie Coleman goes and gets stem cells. I met Ronnie Coleman.
Oh, wow.
So living in Puerto Vallarta in Mexico, there's a couple of stem cell clinics in the area, and I was at a facility that does like cold plunges.
Yes.
And in walks this group of people. They were all coming from the stem cell clinic to come do a cold plunge. Ronnie Coleman, and there was some Mexican wrestler guy, and then just some cool kid that I met from Norway that was just coming for stem cells.
Yeah.
But so he gets them on a regular basis because his body is just so beat up and so depleted. And I mean, unfortunately, he doesn't come to us. I think the clinic in Puerto Vallarta that he goes to is one of the cheapest options in the Latin America market.
Yeah.
So he's going there like every quarter.
Wow.
Which is unfortunate. He's such a sweet guy. Like I got to talk to him and meet him. And very, very humble, very kind, and just a monster of a man. Like his veins are like the size of my size of my arm.
Compared to a lot of bodybuilders, he does actually look relatively healthy, and I don't know his age. I think he's close to late 60s, 70s.
Yeah, well, I mean, now he's pretty much he's in a wheelchair pretty much. Yeah. Like he had to get two guys to help him to get in and out of the cold plunge tub. It was actually his first time doing a cold plunge. That was kind of cool.
Oh, really? Yeah. Wow. Oh man, those are amazing. Is there any other cool celebrity stories that you can bring up with me? Or
we've had a couple tennis players. I know we've got a few professional athletes that come in. They don't really publicly announce that they're doing it all the time. Sense. But I mean, for professional athletes, they're coming in for like regular maintenance on an annual basis as part of their recovery protocol. Yeah. But I mean, for a competitive advantage for sports teams and things like that, I don't see why you wouldn't. Like, I know when Aaron Rodgers, there's the documentary about Aaron Rodgers, and they were throwing everything at it. I know he went down to, I think he went to Tijuana in Mexico, but he was getting stem cells. He was doing all the peptides. He was doing all the, basically everything unconventional treatment you could possibly think of. And, what was it? 9 weeks later, he was back on the turf playing football again after an Achilles rupture. Like,
it's very impressive.
Yeah, it's insane. And same thing with any high level athlete. I'm sure they're coming back from injuries on a quicker basis, like guys like the Connor McDavids that get an injury, you can guarantee they're putting everything they can into it.
Yeah, because they have the resources and the access.
Exactly. I don't know how they do it in Canada, but like that was one of the big things with like coming up here and understanding like how big the gap is of awareness and just no one knows anything about it here. Yep. Like even was talking to a girl that she's taking biology and she went to a conference all about stem cells and like research they're doing on it. And I asked her a couple of questions and she's like, well, what kind of stem cells were they looking at? She's like, I don't know. It's like, what do you mean you don't know?
Wow. Yeah. Because what do you think, like with the average, like if you were to have a conversation with the average Joe on the street, probably think it would be like steroids or something, right? It's
most people, and including myself, a couple of years ago, like all you hear is like aborted fetuses.
Yes.
And stem cells. And you're like, you can't even wrap your head around what that is. And that would be coming from like embryonic stem cells where they have to actually use an early stage abortion where they can actually recreate that in a petri dish. I don't know how effective it is, but like doing like an in vitro,
situation.
Yeah. So that's a big one that has a lot of the controversy around it, but it's also not very commonly used. And there's also a lot of issues in regards to the immune system because it has a lot of different effects. So like some people come at me with the question of like, well, I heard it's like chemotherapy and it completely crashes your immune system. It's like, no,
where you hear that from?
Exactly. Like, show me what you're talking about, because that's with maybe one type of stem cell, like the embryonic stem cells, where that is the case, where you do like completely wipe out your immune system and then bring these in to like build it from scratch, and it can be a high risk evaluation thing. But anytime you're doing the research on this type of stem cells that we're using, it's super low risk and super high potency and effective for a bunch of different treatments.
Yeah, I think just like any final thoughts, or if anybody's looking to like,
is anything you want to leave?
Yeah, leave with, or how do you book with you, or anything like that, or how they go about it?
Yeah, I mean, anyone can contact me. I mean, I wish I'd leave for. I don't even know what to leave for an email or phone number. Too much of my personal stuff. But I mean, if you reach out to the guys and you want more information, or you want to see if something that you're dealing with or a family member is dealing with, that's definitely a conversation I'm always open to have. Whether you find me on social media or find me through the guys here at Northstar, like I'm happy to help, because most people that are looking for a solution that isn't a lifetime subscription of pharmaceuticals or surgeries that don't seem necessary, there are other options outside of our system that is a little bubble, and people just don't know about it. And going to a foreign country for a lot of people is scary for medical procedures, because it's not talked about, because there's
not
no
that much knowledge. It's not
exactly. So basically, don't be afraid to ask questions.
Yeah, exactly.
Just bringing awareness, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and then you never know how many lives you can change, right? By just even shooting a simple text message and finding an answer of something that you've always been dealing with, because that's the biggest thing. Getting that spark, right? Saying that if I have this issue, I can fix this issue. And yeah, it's awesome. Oh, that was a great conversation, Clayton. We definitely learned a lot. We got a lot of stuff to wrap our heads around. I'm very curious about the glasses and all that stuff. But thanks for having us on episode 61 of the Northstar podcast.
Thank you, boys.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
See you on the next one. Bye.